Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing two card projects that feature ink blended cardstock die cut layers. I love these card projects. The color combinations are just so perfect, and these cards feature brand new products from Altenew. I thought I would give you a quick look at what I picked up from the June 2025 release that's available now, and I will have links to all of these in the YouTube description below. First up is the little Mini Delight Regal frame and coordinating stamp set. I love this magical Peony press plate and coordinating stencil set, and I've seen this stencil set on its own without the press plate. It's definitely doable without the press plate, but adding that press plate just gives it that extra wow. Next up is the Today is a Good Day die set and coordinating stencil set. There's so many different layers in this die set that coordinate back to the stencil set, so I can't wait to play with that. Next up is the Versatile Greetings 3. Now this is the comfort edition, so you can see there's sympathy and you are awesome, thinking of you, things like that. And this is available in a press plate as well as a coordinating standalone die set. Finally, I have the Sweet Apricots layering die set. I love this. You can see on the back of the packaging, it shows you how to layer up each of these images, kind of gives you some clues on what colors you may want to use. Now, truth be told, I did not have all of the cardstock colors that I wanted for this particular die set. So I decided to go ahead and just die cut a lot of this from white cardstock and create my own colored cardstock layers using inks. Now, when I'm doing a lot of die cutting like this, I start by sorting my dies into like groups of colors that I want to die cut them from. I did have a couple that I wanted to die cut from this brown color, and I had a couple that I wanted to die cut from green. And so I sorted those out. The rest of the dies I'm going to die cut from white cardstock and then ink blend. So I'll start out by getting the colored cardstocks out of the way and kind of setting those items aside, and then I'll grab some white cardstock that I like for ink blending. Now keep in mind, if you're doing a lot of layers like this, you may want to choose a nice smooth white cardstock that blends well, because you are going to be basically creating colored cardstock out of these die cut layers, and you want something that's going to blend beautifully. So I'm arranging all of these dies onto a piece of white cardstock. This includes the floral centers, the apricots, as well as the floral pieces. And once I've die cut those, I'm going to set them aside. I am going to do some ink blending on this colored cardstock that I've die cut, and I'm starting with the green. I'm adding a little depth to this green cardstock with some moss ink, and I'm using a mini ink blending brush from Altenew to add this color. Now, a little bit later, I went in and used a larger blending brush to color a little more area at one time, but I wanted to show you that you can definitely use a mini ink blending brush to achieve some beautiful blended results on colored cardstock. And I love to blend over colored cardstock because you can see the depth that really added to that green cardstock. Now I'm going to add some darker brown ink to my brown layers, and then I'm going to start kind of blending in color families. So for the floral centers, I'm using the orange sorbet and a mini ink blending brush. And for the apricots, I decided to sort these into color groups. So I have all my lightest, my medium, my dark, and my extra dark all in groups so that I can blend these large areas all at once. Starting with my lightest color, that is the orange sorbet, then moving to a little bit darker color, the peachy keen. For the next darkest color, I'm using Apricot Frost, and finally Terracotta. And you'll notice that these inks are not all from the same color family. It's absolutely okay to mix color families to get the look that you want. For the floral pieces, I started out by blending blush all over the top of these with a large ink blending brush, and then I came in with some pink pearl after I have that base color down and a mini ink blending brush to add a little depth to the end of the petals. Now these florals work on the keyhole system, and if you want to check out a video I have showing you how the keyhole system works, I'm going to pop that in a card here in the upper right hand corner. Now, I did decide that when I stacked these up, I needed a little more depth on some of the lighter colors, so I went back and blended a little more color over some of those lighter colors, and now it's time to assemble. I'm using the packaging that came with the Sweet Apricots layering die set to kind of guide me in my layering process, but these come together rather easily. You can see I'm using liquid glue and then kind of just using my fingers to make sure the edges of those cardstock layers are kind of lined up there. I'll add the stem along the top, and then I'll add this stacked up die cut layer there, kind of aligned with the top of the solid portion of the apricot. And you can see I have some really great images coming together. And I only used white cardstock for all of the apricot images. Now, even if you didn't have like 4 colors of orange inks like I do here, you could start with a light hand of your lightest color orange for the lightest layers. And then for the second color, you could use that same color, just go in with a heavier hand. So you don't necessarily have to have 4 different colors of oranges. You can just vary the intensity of the oranges that you do have to create a similar look. Now for the stem, you're going to stack this brown layer right on top of the leaf layer. This comes together so quickly, and I love this big, beautiful branch. I could see using this even on its own to create a beautiful card project. I'm just using some liquid glue behind those little areas to make sure everything's adhered, and then I'll move on to assembling my florals. Now, originally, I thought I would use this branch in one big piece because this creates such a beautiful image and I love it. But I decided to think outside the box a little bit with this die set, and eventually you'll see me trim it down to get enough pieces to make 3 different cards. Now, I only completed 2 of those for today's video, but let's move on to our greeting. For the greeting, I am using the Versatile Greetings 3 press plate set. I'm using the words "for you," and I'm going to foil those in some Altenew champagne hot foil using my Glimmer hot foil system. So you can see I heated up those press plates on my Glimmer system and then added my foil with the pretty side facing the pretty side of my press plates, as well as my smooth white cardstock. I ran that through my die cutting machine, and now I have some beautiful foiled greetings that I can use the coordinating dies for to die cut them out. Now, I not only die cut the greetings themselves, but I die cut a couple extra layers to stack those up. Now, here's how that large branch looks on an A2 size card. So you can see this fills a lot of space on an A2 size card, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I thought I would put it together like this, but as I mentioned, I thought I should really try to think outside the box and go for something a little different. So I grabbed my scissors and I started doing a little die cut surgery. I'm trimming this branch down, and like I mentioned before, I actually got enough pieces out of this large branch and the 3 apricots. I also had 3 floral pieces to make 3 card projects. I only completed 2 for today, but I did die cut out all the pieces for my 3rd card. Now for this arch piece, I used that little mini delight frame set. This is so cute. I die cut 2 plain white cardstock layers and stacked them up using some liquid glue, and the top layer I die cut from some vanilla cream cardstock. I stacked that on top of the 2 plain white die cut layers, again using some liquid glue, and again just using my fingers to make sure everything lines up. And I love the bit of warmth that this additional vanilla cream kind of yellow color brings into the grouping. Now, before I start adhering everything, I'm going to kind of get my bearings and make sure this is where I want to go. So I'm just kind of dry fitting my die cut layers into this frame, making sure I know where I'm going with this before I make anything permanent. I have one of these little floral blossoms that I'll add along the top. I love these pink floral blossoms. And once I know where I'm going to start adding some liquid glue and positioning my die cuts a little more permanently. I started with just a dot of liquid glue on the back of this frame holding that branch. Then I'm going to tuck this other leaf behind. And once I get all of the leaves kind of on top of or behind the frame where I want them, I'm going to sneak my little fine tip glue bottle between the layers and kind of reinforce those joints there. So you can see I'm just going to sneak that behind there and make sure that leaf is stuck really good to that frame. And that's going to keep everything in place. Now for my apricot and the little blossom, I'm using some foam adhesive on the back of these pieces. So I'll have varying bits of dimension as we go along through this grouping. When I add this grouping to my card project, I'm actually going to add some foam adhesive on the back side of the frame as well, so it will have a little more dimension. And for my stacked up greeting, I used a little bit of foam adhesive on this as well. Now, of course, you can skip any of these layers of foam adhesive that you want, but if you know me, you know I like big cards and I cannot lie. You other crafters can't deny either. So anyway, that's just my preference. If you wanted to skip a few layers of foam adhesive, you definitely can. Now, one of my favorite colors from Altenew recently has been this misty morning color, and I thought I would bring some pattern and this blue color to the background using the Heritage Chevron weave stencil. This was actually released last month, but I thought this kind of geometric print would be really fun with these citrusy kind of designs that we have in the foreground. And I did want to mention I am actually moving in this shot, but it took me a little bit to get everything lined up exactly the way I wanted it. Now, once it's lined up, I'm going to take a small ink blending brush and the Misty Morning ink, and I'm going to blend over the entire card front here. This white cardstock is cut to about 3 3/4 by 5 inches. That's about a 1/2 inch smaller than your standard A2 size card. And I thought this would give it a nice wide matting border on the finalized A2 card. So I'm just blending over the top here. For my other card project, I actually used the same products, but instead of using white cardstock for my card front, I used the Misty Morning cardstock that coordinates with this ink and did the same blending over the top, and it gave it an entirely different look. Once I'm done with my blending, I can remove the stencil, and then I am going to roll my grip mat away from that cardstock so that I don't get it all kind of warped and bent there. And once I had that blue in the background, I thought this is absolutely perfect, and I knew I was happy with that. So I added my frame onto the card front using a little bit of foam adhesive. This really gives me kind of Italian vibes with, I don't know if apricots really are in Italy a whole lot, but kind of that citrusy feel with some blue kind of tile designs in the background. I really just felt like it's maybe a little French, a little bit Italian. I'm not really sure, but it's absolutely beautiful. Now, to add a little shine to my card project, I am so excited because Altenew now has stellar sequins, and I am using the Dazzling Diamond color. It is my favorite of the colors released in the 6 new colors of Dazzling Diamond stencils. You can check those out in a bundle in the YouTube description below, or you can buy the colors individually. So I added those on using some liquid glue and my Perfect Picker tool from Altenew, and that finishes off my card project for today. Now, as I mentioned, I created a second card project featuring these same products. I just finished it off in a little bit different way with a colored background instead of that blue on white. And I think this project turned out beautifully as well. But let me know in the comments below, do you prefer the tone-on-tone blue background, this card here, or do you like that really beautiful light colored blue on the white background as I showed you in the first card? I would love to hear your comments below. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there, or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. And don't forget to join me over on Instagram today because these projects are a part of an Instagram hop that's happening today to celebrate Altenew's June 2025 release. There's lots of inspiration and prizes to be had. You'll find a link to my Instagram profile in the YouTube description below. As always, I want to say thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I am so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials, as well as my Carissa Crafts live stream broadcasts that happen right here on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here. Say hi in the comments below, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.